Olá, pessoal. Você que está lendo os textinhos do avançado comigo, eu vou ler aqui para que você tenha um pouquinho do som da coisa, ok? Então vamos lá. The Anatomy of Accountability. In the lexicon of interpersonal dynamics, the concept of crucial conversation is a term popularized by the consultancy Vital Smarts. Defines those pivotal interactions where stakes are incredibly high. Opinions diverge drastically and emotions run intensely hot. It is within these volatile conversation crucibles that relationships are either irrevocably fractured or fundamentally strengthened. However, successfully navigating these interactions requires overcoming a formidable biological adversary, our own evolutionary wiring. When confronted with criticisms or conflict, the brain's amygdala does not distinguish between a threat to our physical safety and a threat to our ego. It initiates a primal stress response, flooding the prefrontal cortex with cortisol and effectively shutting down our capacity for rational empathy. We are biologically programmed to deflect, rationalize, and counterattack. Consequently, the most vital instrument of conflict resolution, the genuine apology, becomes the hardest to execute, as it requires a profound conscious suppression of our defensive instincts. Unfortunately, modern society has largely corrupted the anatomy of apology. In corporate and public spheres, apologies have been commodified into tools of risk management rather than instruments of moral reconciliation. Legal departments in PR firms craft statements specifically designed to express regret without admitting liability. We are subjected to the passive voice evasion of mistakes were made, which conveniently obfuscate the perpetrator. We witness the insidious conditional apology. I apologize if anyone was offended. A masterful linguistic maneuver that simultaneously feigns remorse while aggressively gaslighting the victim by implying that their reaction is the actual anomaly. A truly transformative apology, one capable of de escalating a crucial conversation, requires the unconditional surrender of the ego. It demands that we dismantle the functional attribution error, our cognitive bias to attribute our own failures to external circumstances. I was late because traffic was unprecedented, while attributing others' failures to their innate character. They were late because they are irresponsible. To apologize effectively in a high stakes scenario, one must bridge the chasm between intent and impact. A common defensive posture is to aggressively clarify one's benign intentions. I didn't mean to undermine you in the meeting, while true intent is entirely irrelevant to the psychological laceration experienced by the victim. A sincere apology requires stepping into the victim's phenomenological reality and validating their pain, regardless of your internal motives. Furthermore, a structural apology must culminate in a tangible offer of repair. Remorse without restitution is merely emotional manipulation. In a professional setting, this might mean formally correcting the record after taking undue credit. In a personal setting, it requires establishing a verifiable behavior metric to ensure the transgression is not repeated. Ultimately, mastering the crucial conversation means recognizing that an apology is not an admission of defeat, but a proactive assertion of emotional intelligence and a necessary investment in the longevity of the relationship. So, our questions for our class of this week are: how does the amygdala's response to an ego threat prevent us from resolving high stakes conflicts? Analyze the author's critique of the phrase, I apologize if anyone was offended. How does this phrase function as a form of gaslighting? Why does the author argue that clarifying one's benign intentions is an inadequate response to causing psychological damage? Hey guys, we'll talk about this next week in your next class. See you. Bye bye.